And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have everybody here on this Wednesday, January 10th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, that being said, let's get right into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to start off by talking about the Tennessee Titans in a surprising move, letting go of their head coach, Mike Vrabel. So we'll get into that. Then in the second part of the show, we'll go over the power rankings that were released this week on NFL.com. So I'll go over those. In the third part of the show, we'll talk about TJ Watt being officially ruled out for this upcoming playoff game against the Buffalo Bills and how that impacts the Steelers. We kind of talked about that already, but we'll get into that more today. And then in the final part of the show, we'll look at the updated NFL draft order and who could potentially go to, the top 10 teams will go through. So, but yeah, that's basically the show for today, the rundown. So let's get right into the first topic, which is talking about the Titans letting go of their head coach, Mike Vrabel. So this was kind of a surprising move. I think there were some rumblings about it, but I honestly just didn't think it was going to happen because, Mike Vrabel has been a solid head coach for the Titans. The Titans, they went to an AFC Championship game, a few years ago. They were the 1 seed a couple years ago. Outside of these last 2 years, I mean, they've made the playoffs. Because when did he take over? He took over in, I think in 20, was it 20? Maybe it wasn't 2019. He was, when did he take over as the head coach? Because obviously, 2019, like I said, they went to the AFC championship game against the Chiefs, and that was when they. Oh, so it was 2018. 2018 was when he first became head coach. But yeah, I mean, 2019 you make the playoffs. I don't think they didn't make it in 2018. I don't think. I know 2017 they did, because that was when they upset the Chiefs in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, it was success. He was a successful head coach, and just the last couple of years. I mean, ever since they started off, I think it was 7-3 last year. Things kind of just fell apart. They ended up missing out on the playoffs. They watched as the Jaguars passed them in the division. And then this year was kind of a rough season. They ended up going 6-11, I think, on the season. 6-11 on the season, and they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. They were trying to compete, but it just didn't pan out. Ryan Tannehill, didn't really play, and when he did play, he wasn't very good. And Will Levis, obviously, he started, games for them. It's just been a rough couple of years. Ryan Tannehill's stats on the season, 1,600 yards passing, 4 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, a 78.5 quarterback rating. And then for Will Levis, 1,800 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 84.2. But yeah, I mean, this goes back to, the team just got worse, as the years, went on. I mean, they traded A.J. Brown, before during the 2022 draft, which was a mistake. And, you replaced him with Burks, and that just really hasn't panned out the way they hoped for. And you got some aging players on the team. Derrick Henry, he's obviously not going to be on the team anymore. He made that, that speech at the end of the game, basically saying goodbye to the fans. So he's gone. Tannehill, when they first got him, and they replaced Mariota with him, Tannehill was good. He was pretty good when they replaced Mariota, and that led them all the way to the AFC Championship game. They beat the Ravens Um, when the Ravens were the 1 seed, that was an impressive run for them, and they had the Chiefs. They were up by 10 points, but then they got bounced out by the Ravens the following year, and then they were the 1 seed and they lost to Joe Burrow. When the Bengals went on their Super Bowl run, and then like I said, they were 7-3 to start the season, and they pretty much lost every single game after that. And they had to watch A.J. Brown torch them when they played the Eagles last year. And then this year, yeah, I mean, like I said, they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. They were trying to compete, and it just really didn't pan out. And I can't really blame them in a sense because the AFC South going into the year was a weak division, but it's not going to be a weak division when you got the Colts, who are going to be good moving forward. The Texans, I mean, they're ahead of schedule, winning the division and making the playoffs. The Jags, you figure they're going to bounce back. You would think they're going to bounce back next year. I'm willing to give them. I think people are just done with the Jags after what just happened. But I feel like there's other things that came into play as to why they collapsed. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was injured. They had other injuries as well. But there is concerns there. But yeah, this division is going to be good. And the Titans right now, they're the worst team in the division because now they got to look for a head coach. I guess they're going to, I mean, Will Levis, I guess, will be the starter moving forward. But you're not going to have Derrick Henry. You're going to have to rebuild this team. And, I think this is more of a reflection on, roster construction as opposed to Mike Vrabel, because I don't think Mike Vrabel really had anything to do with them trading A.J. Brown. I don't think he wanted to do that. But the Titans did it anyways. And that set you back because, he was one of the better receivers, in the NFL. I mean, he is, right now. Number one wide receivers aren't easy to find. It's... and like I said, they drafted Burks, and that ended up not paying off. And now, I don't know what they're gonna do. But now this makes Mike Vrabel an interesting candidate now because there's gonna be plenty of teams, that need coaches that are gonna be interested in trying to get him. So he's definitely gonna find it. He's gonna find a job with no problem. Now, you can look at the Chargers, there's the Falcons. We'll see what happens with the Patriots, if they let go of Belichick. Because I think Robert Kraft and Belichick are going to have meetings to discuss, what the future is for them. We'll see. You get the Panthers as well. So there are some destinations out there. Now, I think he'll probably... I'm going to say he's going to stay in the AFC, but we'll see. I don't know. Because I know the Chargers, that's a place where that is going to draw some interest when you got the offense that they have, and the guys that they have on defense as well, even though the defense hasn't been good. So we'll see. But it was definitely a surprising move. And I think because they were also looking into maybe possibly trading Vrabel. And, obviously Sean Payton, that happened with, his rights. Saints had to trade his rights or whatever. The whole thing. It's obviously different when you're trading a coach as opposed to a player. So we saw that, recently. So that it was possible that could have happened again. But I guess, I don't know. It was something with it was taking too long, so they figured, ownership just figured we're just going to let him go. And yeah, so now Vrabel can go look elsewhere for another job, and I think, like I said, he's going to find one very easily. And it's the last couple of years, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know who the Titans are going to replace him with. On social media, people are just not happy. So the last two seasons, though, for Vrabel, 13-31, which is not good. But he has an overall record of 54-45. But it's yeah, it just that wasn't good. I don't agree with this decision as many other people do. I just feel like the Titans they didn't have the same team that they've had. When they were going on those playoff runs, and you got guys that are getting older, like Derrick Henry. So yeah, it's just I think you also have to look at how they built this team, and but we'll see what ends up happening from this, where he ends up going, what the Titans end up doing. But yeah, the Titans right now they look like the fourth place team. That's what they are, and that's what they are currently, and it might be like that next year as well, because you got Anthony Richardson coming back, and you figure the Colts are going to be, even better with him next year. The Texans with Stroud, and you figure the Jags are going to bounce back. So where does that leave you? Will Levis had a good debut, but after that, he didn't really he didn't really wow us with anything. I mean, they did have that comeback win against the Dolphins, but that was just more of the Dolphins imploding. So we'll just have to wait and see. But definitely a head scratching move for the Titans, and we'll see who they end up bringing in. But unless it's like Bill Belichick, I don't. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what they do, but I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, so that's pretty much it when regarding this topic. Let me know what you guys think about the Titans letting go of Mike Vrabel. Again, obviously, many people, Titans fans are really disappointed. I saw one comment that said that just set us back 5 years, firing Vrabel. So, yeah, you could tell Titans fans are not happy about this. But that's what they decided to do. So, now they're going to be looking for a new head coach, as some other teams are. So, when we get back from our first break of the show, we'll talk about the power rankings. We'll probably focus more so on, like the top 15. Because pretty much the, we know what the bottom half is going to be. But the top 10, going into the playoffs, we'll focus on that. Because obviously, I always say this, we go through the power rankings, and it's, it's always me just trying to, give each team some love, but then it ends up me having to rush at the end of the segment. So we'll get into that when we come back. So, with that being said, we'll take our first break. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.